friends, this is Lori from Cruising for Treasure. Now, if you are just tuning in for the first time, I am a reseller. I sell online on 4 major platforms. eBay is my largest one, Poshmark, Facebook, and Mercari. I am a mom of 4 kids. I work from my home. I do not work outside the home. And this reselling is basically how I bring in money and contribute to the family income. And so that's basically what I do. I source a lot from online auctions. I source a lot from thrift stores, sometimes used bookstores. Sometimes people give me some things, but basically my premise is to buy low and sell high. So, and then my YouTube channel is basically to kind of share and document my journey, and also maybe, hopefully, be of assistance to anyone else who is also on this journey. So the purpose of today's video is to show you, to tell you, my 2 reseller goals for 2025. Now, they are not profound. They're actually fairly simple. You'll probably laugh. However, it's very basic, very fundamental, and it's really what I want to just really dig in and focus on this year. So the first one is I want to, number 1, sell more. So you say, well, of course, doesn't everyone want to sell more if they're in the business of selling things? You obviously want to sell more because otherwise you're not growing, right? But there's a few things that I want to just really dial down into. And I wrote down on my handy little cheat sheet. So in order to sell more, you have to be, a variety of different things, but you have to be competitive. There are a lot of eyeballs out there searching for things, but there are also a lot of listings out there on all of the different platforms. So how do I draw people to my specific item to purchase my specific item? So I have to draw the eyeballs in, and then I have to make them actually take that next step and purchase, right? So one thing that I discovered in December, I had my biggest month that I have ever had. I sold over $10,000 worth of product between my 4 different platforms. One thing that I think really drove those sales is I actually ran sales. And the goal was to get rid of like old stale inventory, which is good. That did happen, but I also sold new current inventory. But what I was discovering as I was working on my spreadsheet, and I do maintain a spreadsheet, I put every item as I list it, I put the cost of goods, and then the date I bought it, and usually where I bought it, and then as it sells, I put the total cost, I put the cost to ship it, and then the date it's sold, and on what platform. And then it calculates out the fees and tells me what my profit is. So, I've maintained a spreadsheet, but so as I was putting in all of the data from all of the sales for the month of December, what I was realizing is even when I was running, the deepest discount I offered was 50%. And even as I was putting in the data from those sales, I was realizing I'm still making a profit. It's not as great as, I was maybe hoping for, but out of all $10,000 worth of sales, I did not lose my money on a single item. So that means to me that, and that kind of blends into my next point, is strategic pricing. I don't have to have things priced as high as I want them, as I have them. I don't have to be like the top number. Be in the middle or even lower, and I'm still going to make a good profit. So consistent sales, or I'm going to offer sales. Probably what I'm working with right now is from Friday night to Sunday night, I will run a fairly decent discount. Usually it'll probably be between 30% off and 50% off. And maybe it'll depend on how I'm doing sales wise throughout the month. If I'm not hitting my goals and I want to kind of spur on a little bit more activity, then I might make the discount a little bit deeper, but no less than 30% off. So 30% off every weekend minimum, and then strategic pricing, making sure that I'm not the top number in my comps, maybe going for the mid-range or even the low range. Because if you have an item that is, just think about it when you go to the store, when you go to the grocery store and you see, you don't really need that box of pasta, but if it's priced significantly lower than you know you can get it at another store, you're gonna buy it because it just makes sense. So if I am offering items at a good price that still guarantees me a profit, but yet is maybe a little bit lower than my competitor, then that may encourage more sales. And then the last thing that I have under my sell more goal is to delete my stale listings. Now, how does that tie into selling more if you're removing listings off of your inventory? Well, it's very simple. Most of the algorithms on the platforms, they tend to really highly favor accounts that have activity. And if you have a store that is just weighted down with listings that never get clicks, never get views, never get sales, then that drags down your whole store. So you want to have a store that is vibrant, a store that is active, a store that is not just bringing in attention from the buyers, but is actually bringing in activity from the buyers. So by deleting stale listings, and I'm talking, in my case, I have listings that are up there that are still from 2020, okay? I'm slowly going through and weeding that out, but what I want to do is kind of ramp that up a little bit. It is daunting. It's very daunting. But by doing that, you kind of help to, it's kind of like when you take all the dead leaves and dead flowers off of a plant. You remove that dead, dying junk so that the plant has energy to give to the new growth, right? So that's the whole point of eliminating your stale listings, is that you're deleting that from your store, getting a fresh start, giving it more energy for the new items that are coming in. So run consistent sales, have strategic pricing, and then delete the stale listings. So that's what I'm going to do to try and achieve more sales. So hopefully it'll work. We'll see. Make sure you stay tuned on my channel so that you can see what sells. And then the next one, number two in my reseller goals for 2025 is, okay, don't laugh, pay less. Okay, so number one is sell more, and number two is pay less. So those are, I mean, to me, it's just very fundamental to reselling, is how much are you paying for your inventory and how much are you selling? And if you can't fine tune those things, then you might as well just throw in your hat and be done, because you're not going to grow. So for paying less, there's a couple things. I think one thing that I struggle with is being very judicious when it comes to sourcing. I can tend to be an emotional buyer. I feel like, and by that I don't mean like, oh, or anything like that, or this is so adorable, I have to buy this. Sometimes that might happen. But it's more, oh, hey, I sold this a couple of years ago when it sold for this much, and I know it's priced higher now and the price is coming lower, like the sale price is moving down. So maybe, but I'm kind of attached to that nostalgic view of myself as a reseller a couple of years ago, and so it still ends up in my cart. So sometimes that's an okay thing, but sometimes it's not. So what I want to do is, the number one thing is to track my spending. So what I am doing is every day, just until it's ingrained in my thinking, I am making a note in my planner. I'm making a note of how much I sold that day and how much I spent. So obviously, I never want those to be out of balance. I always want to be selling more than I spend, right? So by making that, top priority in my head, it will help me to think twice before I go into the thrift store and just grab whatever. Oh, well, this sold for me 12 months ago. It's gonna sell again. Well, maybe not, because we have trends that just go up and down and in and out. And what sold 12 months ago very well may not be selling now. So I have to track my spending. I have to be aware of what's going in and out. And I have to make sure. So one of the ways, a primary way that I source is online auctions. And so it can be very easy to get caught up in the bidding, to get caught up in, well, I need more stuff, or it can be very easy to not be very concise and very businesslike about it, at least for me. I don't have a business degree. I've never run a business. This is my business. This is how I'm learning. So I'm just kind of sharing with you how I'm trying to fine tune things. So my goal is, as I am bidding in auctions, I don't want to bid on something just to acquire inventory. Okay. If I don't love it, I'm not enthused about it, excited about it, I'm not going to list it. It's going to pile up in the corner. And that's not wise spending, right? So I have to be much more, I just have to cut out that emotion. It has to be much more businesslike. So I'm going to work on that. So that's the number one, is track spending. And number two is to check the comps in. I do pretty well with this when I'm bidding online. I research. If I don't know exactly what I'm bidding on, I research the snot out of it. So I have a pretty good idea when I'm bidding of, the comps. But when I'm in the thrift store, I just don't like to take the time to do it. And so sometimes I end up coming home with stuff that I paid a little bit too much for, and I can't sell it quite for what I wanted to. And that ends up meaning that my profit margin is much lower, and sometimes it means I can't even sell it. Sometimes it means I really did just pay too much. It's not worth my time. So I want to focus on checking my comps in store. That will help me to weed out. It will help me to realize, okay, just because, again, this sold 2 years ago, it doesn't mean it's going to sell now. Just because this brand had your heart go pitter patter pumpernickel 3 years ago means nothing today. Everybody forgot about that brand, right? So, and that is the tricky part of reselling is I'm not a trendy person. Never have been. Guess I'll never will be. So it takes a lot of research to figure out what is blowing people's skirts up, what is making them excited to collect things or acquire things, what styles are out there, what colors are hot right now. Like, that's difficult for me. So, checking comps in store will help to eliminate a lot of bad buys, okay? And then my third and last one for paying less is to utilize all options for sourcing. As I said, I do online auctions, which I highly recommend if researching in your area and coming up with options for that. There are good companies, there are bad companies, there are great companies. Put your feelers out, search for them. I love sourcing from online auctions. I make a ton of money from them, but it's not the only game in town. I really want to make a conscious effort this year for getting to different thrift stores. I have 2 Goodwills that are very close to where I go every day. So it's easy to just kind of get in that rut of going just to those thrift stores, which is fine, but there's more fish in the sea, right? So getting out, I went to a thrift store the other week that's in the middle of Alexandria in Virginia, and it was so much fun. I found some great, incredible stuff. Because wherever your thrift store is, the people in that neighborhood, in that area, are donating their items. So depending on the neighborhood, you could get really incredible things. I live in the suburbs of Virginia that's like outside DC. So between government workers, federal contractors, and just the whole thing that makes up all of how government works, it's in my backyard basically. So depending on the neighborhood of the thrift store that I go to, I can have crazy stuff dropped off. So I want to broaden my horizons, but also again, if I'm utilizing the other things under Payless, then I will hopefully still be reducing my expenditures, but increasing my sales. So anyway, let me know in the comments, what are your goals for 2024? 2025. Have you set any goals? What do you think you could tweak in your reselling business? Or are you feeling pretty good? I personally have a big number that I'm hoping for this year, a big number I'm working towards, and I'm tracking daily to see my progress, and it's abysmal at this point, but I mean, that's to be expected. It's totally fine. The whole point of a goal is to push you. You might not reach it, but you're gonna push and you're gonna try harder than you did before to reach that goal, and you're gonna get further than you did before. So that's my purpose this year for my goals. And simple: sell more, pay less. That's what I got. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about my goals, and let me know what you think about your goals. And if you have not yet subscribed, make sure you do hit that subscribe button, because we're gonna have some fun times around here. I do upload videos quite regularly showing what's sold, and you'll be able to track with me and see how I'm doing with my goals. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys are having a great new year, and I hope you are able to hit all of your goals this whole year. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.